All right, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the show. We are live. We got a special guest in here. The billboard. You see all these billboards. It's these guys right here. We buy houses, right? When you see me running, it's right here. So, and this was the weekly real estate breakdown right here. Eric, man, he's everywhere. So, welcome to episode. I think it's 18th or 19. I wrote it in there. Episode 19 of Behind the Toolbelt.
19.
Yeah, with TC Backer Construction, Ty Cobb Backer, Chris Baker, and special guest Eric Brewer. So welcome to the show, everybody. Real quick, if you could share this out, there's a lot of reasons you're going to hear a lot of good stuff, just about community stuff, business stuff, and it's going to be fun and it's going to be inspiring. So please share this out. It really helps small business. You know, people ask small business for help us, with this and help us with that. And small business is saying, listen, we're just asking for a share, right? We're asking for you to invite some of your friends, put in a group. Anyway, take it away, guys. Good evening.
Yeah, what's going on? We got Mr. Eric Brewer with us tonight. I'm sure a couple of you are on right now. He had us on his show last week, so we're returning the favor here to an Eric Brewer episode.
That was killer, by the way, dude. We're like 3,000 views or something.
Yeah.
We ended up, it was almost 2 hours. I didn't realize we were on for that long.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like that long. It was really smooth and went good.
You get a couple of dudes that have been on quarantine for 4 weeks and let them start talking. Next thing you know, it's 2 hours later.
Yeah, it was good. I think it flowed real well.
It was awesome, man.
For sure. We're gonna try to touch on some of the things that you touched on with us as far as like background and stuff, man. Because I know you've got a lot of experience. You've been around the block, man. You're a mentor to a lot of people in the business world, the real estate world. So I guess just start out like introduce yourself. Tell the crowd who you are if they don't know who you are. In your own words, man.
Yeah, so I'll try and keep it simple. Sometimes who I think I am each day changes depending on what's going on with business. But I would say, first and foremost, I'm a husband and a father. It's probably the thing I'm most proud of. And I got a wonderful family, and I'm super proud of that. I own a local real estate business here in York. We're in 7 counties, but we're based out of East York. We spent about 12 years over on East Market Street, and then about a year ago moved over to a much larger facility, Easton Road, kind of right on the main drag here, and it's been awesome for us to move over here. It gave us a ton of space, and I've been in business since late 2005, 2006. We do all different types of real estate deals, from rentals to conventional listings and helping buyers with our team of Keller Williams. And been doing it for quite some time, and we do about total a little over 400 deals a year. It's pretty busy, and it's the fun part. 400 deals a year is quite a good.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And you on TV. I see just shared that drawing. Just we kind of said, man, as soon as I see it, I already know who won because I see her posts nonstop.
Yeah, it was crazy. She had the second highest amount of posts. Sue Adams, who works with you guys know her. She had like 58 shares. So she was posting like 2 commercials a day, like 40 some. I shook that box up real good. I made sure I mixed it up because there was a couple of people that only had 4 entries because it was like a raffle. So if you did 1 or 50, you still had a chance to win. But Sarah did a good job. So she's like that. She's lucky. She's just always happy-go-lucky and things. We're lucky to have her around.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So you've been smashing on the TV ads and everything. I definitely see you on there a lot. So you said that you do 400 some deals. Is that just in sales or is that including, because you guys do like turnkey investment, that kind of stuff? Is that all like lumped together? Or
yeah, It's probably more than that if you include our retail sales. But that's just a whole different, that's a service-based business. We don't physically buy and sell those homes. But we do just about 400 real estate transactions. I wouldn't even call them they're unique addresses. If you counted we bought it and then renovated it, resold it, technically each house would be 2 transactions. So we do about 400 unique property sales a year. Right now, the majority of our business is dealing with investors, whether it's wholesaling properties or renovating them, renting them, selling them to investors all over the country. And then we manage them for them as well.
Right. Gotcha. So one thing you said last week, when you had us on, that kind of was unique to Todd, with what keeps you motivated once you're at a certain level in your career. Because I mean, it's not a secret you're successful. You run a very good business. You don't have to get up and do this every day. You could pay someone to take care of that and be with your family all the time. But what keeps you hungry and wanting to get up and do what you do? Not only on a bottom line level as far as like effort you put extra effort in a lot of things. You know what I mean? So what keeps you going on that?
It's funny you ask that. It's a really hard question. I think a lot of people give like a knee-jerk reaction to that, right? And sometimes it can change from day to day. I wrote a book, and there's a friend of mine that I'm fortunate enough to spend time with that has taught me quite a few things about leadership and mindset. It's like the 2 things he's always preaching me is mindset and leadership. And he asked me that question like a year and a half ago, and I'll never forget his response. It was actually like confrontational. And he asked me that question, and I said, my family. And he's like, bullshit. And I'm like, what do you mean, dude? Like, I love my family. What do you say? You want to knuckle up? And he's like, really, man? Like, that's it? Like, that's all you're willing to give is enough to just impact your family? Like, it's like 6 people. Yeah. And I was like, well, I've never thought about it that way. And he's like, so you're going to, as soon as your family's set and everything's good, that's where it stops? Like, you're only put here to only impact those 6 people's lives? And it really makes you think, right? Because, I mean, I think and everybody would respect the fact that I think a lot of us on the surface do things for our family. I mean, it's the people that most of us hold most sacred, right? You take a bullet for my family. And, but it really made me think, and what it was is certainly my family's near and dear to me, but it was generally people. And, it's easy to say, and I always like to kind of back things like that up with fact. And I had someone that came here to me today that was talking about marketing and a sponsorship and showing me all these statistics. And they were telling me how many people were going to see my banner on television. And I didn't care. Like, it was part of the decision, right? It's still an investment because they wanted me to spend a fair amount of money. And, my question was, I was like, why do you do this? And he said, well, I said, no. Like, who's it for? Like, are you guys doing this for entertainment value? And it has something to do with youth sports, right? Mm-hmm. Who's it for? Like, are you trying to help these kids? Nah, most of these kids are already on their way to. I'm like, all right, so I got to tell you, like, I don't really care about, like, the amount of people that are going to see it. Like, I already do TV and billboards and stuff like that. Like, I need to know if you're helping anybody or don't. Many times it involves kids. I got to love people in general, but if you want to get me to do something, if it involves kids and help, particularly if they don't, get help from other places, that's something that really, really, really inspires me is to help people. Like, so that for me is the thing that, like, when you talk about going the extra mile, like, us right now are working, doing a Facebook Live show at 7:08 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's not like we're on here selling something. Like, this is part of who we are. And I've seen your guys show and know you guys personally from Shane to Ty to Chris. And the one thing that you can say about all of you guys is you're just good people. And I think that's the thing that for me gives me gratification well beyond a paycheck. And it's really, I owe it to the guy's name's Pat Precourt. He's my show. And he's all about you go back and you think about like where our business really started to grow. It was about 18 months ago, shortly after that conversation with him. And the reality was for me is I was like, why can't I create similar opportunities for people that I care about that aren't my family? And then you're thinking about people you care about, it's like endless, right? Like it's everybody. I want to see everybody win. And you can't always help everybody, but I'm going to do my part. And our business has doubled in size by people. The amount of clients that we're able to help has doubled. My relationships with guys like PC Backer Construction, our flooring installers, our painters, our general contractors, the guys that put our flooring in. We've contributed in some part to all of their businesses growing. And that's the kind of stuff for me that just keeps me up at night. Like it's what makes me tick.
Yeah. You two have a lot in common, Ty and Eric. Man, I hear the same things out of Ty's mouth. About things. One of the first things that stuck out to me when I came on with TC Backer was hearing Ty explain just how far everything really extends. So like when you think about it as a business owner, I've never been a business owner like you guys, but what I would think, it's not just your employees that you have to take care of. Every employee has a story and has a village that they're responsible for, that care about, or depending on them in some sort of way. And you guys take that stuff into play when you make decisions and stuff like that. So I know a lot of that thought process probably went through both of you guys' minds with this whole pandemic thing that's going on, because there's a lot of responsibility on you guys' shoulders, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I know for me, and I make a joke sometimes that I'm probably the worst business owner ever because I base a lot of my decisions on, personal. There are a few decisions I have to make that I can honestly say it's nothing personal, it's just business, but really everything is personal. The hardest thing to do is to let somebody go. And why that is, it's not because of that person, but because of that person's family that always goes through the back of my mind. Or when I'm hiring someone, one of the first questions I ask is, are you married? Do you have children? Because, usually those kind of people have something to work for, not just for that, but, what other responsibility am I bringing, like taking care of, so that's definitely plays a big role in my decision making. And, and I can definitely relate to a lot. Like when you were sitting there talking, Eric, I felt like I was looking in the mirror there for a minute because the same things that were coming out of your mouth, I feel as if I try to lead by example and try to say the next right thing. Am I perfect at it? By no means. I had a moment today with a vendor of ours. I was trying to a deadline on when some of the products were coming in, and I just couldn't get a straight answer out of him. And it's been like, I have to answer to people. So it's like, dude, I need a straight answer. And he just kept giving me a runaround, and I kind of lost my stuff there for a minute on him. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? We all go through it sometimes, and every now and then I do owe an amends. And, but I'll be the first one that'll run over there and say, look, and I shouldn't have said what I said, or I shouldn't have said it the way I said it, or I shouldn't have said it in the tone that I said it in. And I have been practicing on how I say things to people. This whole thing has been not just the pandemic, but years of being in business has been totally a learning experience for me. And I know you can relate to that, Eric, because nobody handed you the keys to the kingdom. I mean, what you have, you earned and worked and trial and erred and missed and fired and successes and failures but that's why you are where you are today, and why you are who you are today is through those pains of growing and stuff. And like I was trying to tell you today, I appreciate your patience, because there for a second I didn't realize what we were going to do. How many people I was going to have working, and but you kind of shrugged it off, and you treated me the same exact way as you always treated me. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't think it was a big deal, but to me it was a big deal. You know what I mean? But you had the confidence in me to know that we were going to get the job done regardless. It might take an extra day or two, but you had the faith in me that we were going to get it done. But thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that's one of the biggest scams ever, is when people tell you it's business, not personal. And maybe I'm just speaking from, like, we run a relatively small, we're talking about like a major corporation, or, a sports franchise or something like that. But like, I don't know the exact statistics, but I've read a couple books, and I certain people that I follow when it comes to how to run a company and leadership and stuff like that. And there's a crazy statistic that over 80% of people that are unhappy with their job, and then it talks about like the top 2 reasons, right? And everybody would think that it has to do with pay or position, promotion, and it actually has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with acknowledgement, right? Acknowledging a job well done, or acknowledging just a job done. Right? I think one of the things I've always said was, so many people don't do their job that we take for granted people just doing their job. Like, we wait for them to have to do this extraordinary job, like, man, you killed it, like, to finally pay them a compliment. But the instant somebody doesn't do their job, we're quick to point it out. And, the best way to compliment somebody is by giving them money, or, showing them some type of, monetary gratitude. Some people just like you to take them to lunch, or pull them aside and they appreciate what they're doing, or show some type of interest in them as a person, and not necessarily them as a worker. And in order to do that, and that's my point, is it has to be a little bit personal. You can't give the same canned BS pat on the back to Chris that you do 40 other people, right? It's just, it doesn't mean anything. They're like, oh, well, that's the same thing, and the same card, or the same sticker that everybody got. I don't feel special. People like to feel special. It's natural. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think, again, maybe it's not for everybody, but one of the things I've learned is I have personal connections and relationships with everybody I work with. I show a vested interest in what happens outside of the office, whether that's something to celebrate, or they're getting married, or having a child, or something. The opposite. Maybe they're struggling, and it carries over to home. I mean, you know what that's like. I mean, we've all had trials and tribulations in our life, and you can't just turn it off when you get to work. And so a lot of times what people might be struggling with at work is something they brought from home. And if you don't show any type of interest in it, I don't think you can be a complete leader for people. That's my personal opinion, but I wouldn't be critical of yourself. The fact that you get personal, I think, is something to admire, because it makes you vulnerable, right? Like, that's the biggest, I think, concern with most people, is they're like, well, if you allow yourself to get attached, and there's a good saying that goes somewhere. It's like this old fable. The CEO said to the owner, he said, well, what if we develop and do all of this for our people and help them grow, and they leave? And it was like, what if we don't and stay?
Right.
Think about that for a second. So your option is to create relationships, develop people, and run the risk of, you know my story. I mean, I've had a dozen people work their way up through my company and left. And it used to weigh on me. Like, now it's like a form of flattery. It's an acknowledgement that I've gotten them and worked with them and developed them to a point to where they have the confidence and the knowledge to be able to go out on their, I'd rather them stay. I mean, I'm, act like that's not the case. But you can't stand in people's way, right? Like it's what we talked about with what's important to me and what makes me tick. I can't just all of a sudden turn up because what's best for somebody else, causes a small hurdle in my business. I think business is personal.
Yeah. I feel like you guys are exactly right. It's, when you show acknowledgement to people, they work harder for you, and they definitely show appreciation, man. It's definitely great to spend the majority of your awake time every day working at a place that you don't feel appreciated. That's no way to live.
People like to work for people, not for places. Like, I think one of the things I picked up on is like you ask somebody who they work for, and they don't say TC Backer Construction. They say I work for Ty. I work for Eric. They don't work for a place. They work for a person. And people will do far more for another person than they would a place or something that an inanimate, like nobody's going to do anything for this soap dispenser. It's a hand sanitizer now, but it used to be a soap dispenser. But that's the biggest thing for me is that yes, it makes us, we have far more to lose, right? Than the people that we're opening up to and showing a personal interest in. But I think far more to gain, and there's no way around it. The only way that you can create those types of cultures, and like that's what you guys have, you have a culture at your company, is to personally invest in people. And at some point it has to cross over from business to personal, and you have to be confident, you have to be humble enough to be able to expose yourself, and it might not work out. And I can tell you when those relationships have changed for me, it hurt just as much personally as it did business-wise, if not more. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah, and it stings. I get it too. I've had several people over the years leave, and my first instinct is I don't know, what am I going to do? But it always seems to work out best for both parties.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They come to find out it's usually like the best thing that happened to me after they leave, and a month later, 3 months later, 6 months later, after you find a replacement, it's kind of like it tends to be a better fit anyhow with the next person that comes in. But there's always that thing in the back of my mind that am I giving them too much information? Am I educating them too much? Because the last 3 guys that I did this with, they're just going to leave and use it against me anyhow. But I guess it's a gamble that we have to take because I want to see my team succeed, so I'm not going to hold back on anything, especially if I can educate them or teach them the things that I've learned along the way through trial and error. And honestly, and anyone who has left really hasn't become a threat or competition. I've seen many of them come and I've seen many of them go. And look who's still here. And Eric, you can say that too. I'm sure you've seen many of them come and many of them go. And look who's still standing, brother.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things you got to realize is that some of those relationships just won't last, and it doesn't mean that person is doing you wrong. It doesn't mean that you should have handled the situation any differently. It means that particular season in your business, they were a good fit, right? And whether that's for 2 years or 12 years or whatever, and then as your business grows or stays the same, and they either progress or stay the same, you outgrow each other. It's not a negative thing,
right?
And I think the one thing you said is you educate people, you train people, you empower people. and we only ever really give credit or count people that leave, but that number is so much smaller than the people that stay because you're doing that. So
Yeah.
what we have to consider, and I got to force myself, is okay, I lost that person. But if I didn't do that, how many of these great people that are still here would be looking for another job because I was holding back? People know. Like, they know if you're not challenging them. They know if you're withholding information and being about, building and then profits and expenses. We had our town hall meeting today. We had about 40 exhausted. We had about 40% of our people back in the office. We had a catered lunch. A shout out to Heritage Hills. John Cerruti up there. He's one of the owners at Heritage Hills. They catered for us. And, we go through a profit and loss. And you talk about like the ultimate transparency. We had every person in our company from entry level to executive level looking at a profit and loss statement.
Wow.
So, and each of those people know they contribute to the wins and losses that are on there.
Wow.
It's been great for us, a culture of transparency. If someone leaves and they know how to balance a balance sheet and run a P&L, you know as well as I do, they got to know 7,004 other things. So that piece of information is not alone going to allow you to start, run, and maintain a successful business.
No.
So
Absolutely not. And the other thing I was thinking too, how many of them actually do come back though, or want to come back?
There's a lot to be, especially with times like this. You think about when all of this stuff started to unfold, just the chaos, right? Like the anxiety, like what if this, we ran through 6 million different potential outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And what I knew the most important thing for me, like when you called me or I talked to Chris, was like, hey, like, I don't know all the details, but I know it's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about the 31 people that work for me, like the most important thing for me was to get out in front of those people and deliver the same message to them. Like, I don't know all the answers. Here's what I do know. And I promise you that we'll keep you informed, and I have a high level of confidence. I think you're going to be okay. I don't know what okay means, but it's definitely better than worst case. And when everybody was working, so fortunately, we hired 3 people just this past week. Added 3 people, so we didn't replace 3 people. We added 30 employees.
Wow.
I brought that up at our town hall today, and I said, if you take one thing away from that, it should be a sign of my confidence of where we're headed. I wouldn't add 3. And I didn't, these aren't part-time employees. I brought a director of construction, which, for us,
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to remodel 250 homes this year. That's a big position.
Yeah.
We brought in a person that was, an individual business owner that does what I do, that wanted to be part of the career. And he's going to put a ton of pressure on me. He's going to want to grow. He's going to want to go to different markets. He's going to want to, we're already doing, but I'm pretty excited about it. It's again, I'm good. We can do 400 deals a year, and I don't feel the necessity to do any more. But the only thing that'll get me to even consider doing it is somebody else counting on me to do it. Okay, it sounds cool. Let's rip it.
Right.
So we're pretty proud of that. I mean, the ability to be able to not only keep everybody on board, we didn't lay off a single person.
Yeah.
We're extremely proud of that. It was touch and go. I mean, for weeks, because it kept getting progressively worse before it ever started to get better, right?
Yeah.
Especially with construction, because it was so what was able to be done and what wasn't. So it's pretty exciting.
To add to that real quick, did you at any point in time through this, when you're like thinking, in the war room, we'll call it, with your guys, making decisions, do you feel any added pressure being one of those business leaders in the area that people are looking to as to what you're going to do? I know you mentioned how, myself and Ty, you were the first person I called when that stuff came out, just because I wanted to know where your head was in the entire thing. And you mentioned that Ty reached out to you too. I mean, you're not just a local real estate guy, man. I mean, you were recognized by the New York Times for top 100?
Yeah.
Dude, that's big, man. That's not just a local York, PA real estate guy. You know what I mean?
I have the magazine on my desk with a sticky note on it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Well, to answer your question, hell yeah. Like, I don't know if it was, I probably wouldn't have thought of it as being a local owner that people might, follow or reflect on. But I know that do has a direct impact on so many other people. If I decided, and this was part of it, like we could have just stopped buying homes. Right? Like everything that I'm buying right now, bought 31 homes last month. So it's going to take 90 days until those homes come out the other side, right? So I'm the 31 I bought last month. I'm betting on my ability to sell those 31 in August. So I mean, if you think about it, when if you want to be aggressive, you'll bet on the real estate market and the stock market. I mean, there's like three most volatile things for the most part that you can gamble on. Now in our market, I mean, for the most part, we're pretty lucky with real estate. We don't have super high highs and we don't have, super low drops and corrections when they happen. But yeah, I mean, I feel the pressure. I mean, I have, a handful of businesses and each of them have a slightly different client base and we're impacted differently. All people that, we don't do it alone. I mean, we did a sort of a survey and found that every house that we buy impacts over 30 people.
Wow.
That's a lot.
So, yeah, so if you think about the seller, their family, right? Us as the buyer, the person that bought it, the people that handle the accounting, the banker that arranges the loans for me to do the construction and purchase the house. When we sell it, that buyer, their family, the contractors, their family. There's over 30 people per transaction. So the pressure that I felt was with each one of those homes. I didn't want to have a negative effect on 30 people. I mean, if I buy 20 homes, that's 600 people.
Yeah.
That's the pressure I feel. And then certainly I have relationships with guys like you that we, have really close, long-standing business relationships with, and we all spend a ton of time on the phone. It's great to have people to talk to work through. Sometimes just to vent. Sometimes just you're freaking out and you talk to somebody else and you, oh no, man, because the news changes fast. I heard this is going to happen, or so and so told me, or why don't you go to we were fortunate enough through our banking relationships, things like the PPP loan and the EPL that's out, that that kind of stuff gave me the confidence to say, I mean, if someone's believed in our business enough to give us a loan to keep people, who am I to say otherwise?
Right.
It's paid off. I mean, we've been doing well. I mean, you guys know we're busy. Ty and I don't talk often about roofs and windows and gutters. And today, within a 2-hour time span, him and I were talking about 2 houses that had 2 different things that needed to be done. It's a sign we're busy. When him and I are texting about octave out windows on $100,000 houses, you know that I'm not doing that because I'm sticking my nose in it. I'm doing it because I'm trying to help out because we're swamped.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wearing multiple hats right now, man. I know you guys are definitely busy. I know, you're part of the equation that keeps us moving and keeps us pumping like we can. The confidence in making decisions. I'm sure Ty knows as long as we're going, we're going to be okay. So,
Mm-hmm.
but so that was good stuff. we did kind of get a little bit off of
Man,
where we
yeah.
one thing I did want to ask you though, man, did you start out in the real estate business? Like, did you come out of high school or college and know that you wanted to sell real estate and start a company, or?
Oh man, how much time you got?
Probably not enough.
So I'll summarize. I barely graduated high school, right? Like I played some sports. I was having fun. High school was a ton of fun to me, but I was fortunate enough to graduate. But I really, didn't know what I wanted to do. My dad was in the military. He was the military guy. My mom was in the dental field, and I knew neither of those things for me I felt were a good fit. But if you think back, so I graduated high school in 1993. I don't even know what the options were. I mean, it was like, be a cop. My first job actually was construction. I worked for Richard Poole summer after I graduated, and I worked on the model of the Dutch kitchen on the corner of Philly and Penn. And about 4 days into that, 107 days working on the demo crew, I was like, nah. And I went and I actually quit. And he said, well, don't you have a good driver's license? I was like one of like 11 guys that had a good driver's license. And he's like, well, if you don't like that kind of work, why don't you run material for us? So I did that. And but quickly I knew that, I wanted to do something different. Like I had a lot of fun, like demo. It was an old building, a big building. And the guys that I worked with were awesome. I felt wearing a Toolbelt. I know behind the Toolbelt's the name of the show. Like I was such a badass. But then shortly after that, I was like, this is not for me. And for like 2 months, I didn't do anything. My dad's like, what are you doing? You're a bum. You get a job. And I was like, but I don't like any of these jobs. I don't know what you want me to do. So I joined the military. A lot of people don't know about it. And so I went in the Army. In the Army, I signed up for a 6-year enlistment. And I was in avionics communications. So I did my basic at Fort Knox. I did my AIT at Fort in Georgia. And then I was stationed at Fort Hood in Texas. And I loved Texas. It was awesome. But they expanded my MOS. They changed all the equipment and the helicopters. And they gave us the option. So this is 95, almost 96. And gave us the option to change our MOS with Penn school or get out. And I was like, the military was great. It taught me how to be responsible. It taught me discipline. It taught me respect. It's never been through basic training. And if you, back in '93, it was a little different than it is now. And but I came out a man. I went in a punk. I came out a man. I came back. I moved in with a buddy. Lived in his parents' basement. Applied in a 3-piece suit I wore to my senior prom. The old Toyota. For a parking lot attendant position. I wore a $200 suit to a $7 an hour job. And they hired me. From there it was crazy, man. I worked my butt off. I used to go in at 7 a.m. and I started delivering cars back then. They had a Mercedes dealer. And they would deliver cars for Mercedes customers. So I had like the coolest job in the world. I was driving around Mercedes all day. And I wanted to make extra money because I was living on my own. So I washed cars at night. So I worked from 7 a.m. to about 10:30 p.m. every day. And I caught the eye of the service manager. And, hey, you work really hard. Customers seem to like you. Why don't you, be what they call like a service advisor. So when you go to a car dealership, these are the people that advise you on what service you need. They call you if you need repairs. They're really between you and the mechanic. I did that job. I did really well. The sales manager said, hey, customers seem to like you. Come into sales. I was like, oh, man, I can't do sales. Like, no way. And he stayed on me for months. And eventually I went out and started selling cars. And that was like my thing. I was good at sales. And worked my way up to the general sales manager at that dealership. And then we opened up a couple different car lots. And 8 years later, I got burned out. I was working 85 hours a week. And I was just having my son, who was now 16. And I just decided I got to get out of the business. It's not for me. And I quit. and I had some money saved up, so I knew I was okay for a couple of months. I just did some soul search.
Lined up. I'm done.
Yeah. And I did it, and I wasn't a jerk about it. It wasn't anything,
Right.
where I was working. It just wasn't for. I was just burned out, man.
I got you. Yeah.
I mean, and back in the car, it was like the Wild West back then. I worked 13-hour days. I drank for 6 hours, slept for 2, and then did it all over again. When you're 25, 26, 27 years old, that's fine. But then when you start thinking about having a kid and the responsibility that comes with it, and then just 8 years of that was enough. I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So I decided I wanted to get into real estate. I started in mortgages. My partner, Craig Rich, who, got me started in this business, called me. It was like, I heard this radio commercial about flipping houses. I think me and you should go check it out. This school down in Baltimore called Investors United. And they teach you how to flip houses. And we went to like a 2-hour meeting, and I was like, all right, I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. That was January of 2005.
Wow.
So, and then we started that first year. We flipped 70 homes. Here I am today.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Amazing.
Did I answer your question? What was it? I think that's what you asked me, wasn't it?
Did you start in real estate?
Yeah, no, not at all. The car business is where I cut my teeth, man. That's
You're a good person to ask this question to because of all the sports and everything that your son's in. He's not only just in like regular school sports, but he does. He's a very good ball player, football,
yeah.
and basketball. So you said you went to the military to learn respect and to learn and that kind of stuff. Would you agree that the only other place to get that kind of experience is team sports?
Oh man, it's definitely a good place to start. I think depending on your family situation, you may get a lot of that stuff at home. My personal situation back then was with my parents' work schedule and stuff. It wasn't. Sports were like it for me. That was the only place that got any discipline. It's the primary reason I wanted my kids, particularly my son, to be involved in sports, is because when he's at school and he's not at home, I don't have much control over what he does. I mean, I can try and teach him the right thing to do. I can try and teach him how to steer clear of trouble, but at the end of the day, you're not there.
Yeah.
I just felt much more comfortable with him being in organized sports with coaches that I knew and coaches that I trusted and reputable programs. And then through school, he's with teachers, and some of his coaches were always teachers. And I 3 younger ones now, and definitely gymnastics, cheer, soccer, basketball. I think sports is a great way for kids to socially develop. And I think that it's a great way to make friends. It's a great way to deal with conflict resolution, right? Like Ty's situation with that vendor today. I mean, you deal with that stuff when you're playing sports, and you work through it because at the end you gotta win, right? So you can either be pissed at each other and fight all the time, or you can get up and apologize even if you don't mean it sometimes, and move on. I'm a big supporter of youth sports. I think you learn some super valuable life lessons.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know that was completely off subject there, but I just wanted to get your input on that because I've always thought personally that I know I worded the question wrong. I said the only other way. What I meant to say was one of the other good ways to get it, because I know you learn camaraderie and how to work together as a team. A brotherhood that you get in the military is probably only comparable to team sports. Is probably the best way to put it.
The worst basketball practice I have never ever had did not compare to my first week of boot camp. I can tell you that. They literally break you down. I mean, I was in basic training. I was still 18 because I didn't turn 18 until the August after I graduated. So I was 18 with the boot camp. And there were guys there that were, 25, 30 years old, and it brought them to tears. I mean, the physical and mental exhaustion that you get, at camp is crazy. But then they build you back up. I mean, just like you hear on television, they build you back up. And I'm telling you, man, I don't know if I could do it again, certainly not at my age and my condition. But knowing what I know, if I went back to being 18 years old again, I would do it. There's not much other than sports, maybe some good college or teachers or, really impactful mentors that we're lucky enough to have in our youth. But put a drill sergeant up against any of those people. They know how to whip you into shape physically and mentally.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's awesome. Do you remember your first house that you ever bought, or your first property you ever purchased in real estate?
Personal house or
just first property in general that you bought as yourself and your business?
616 Cortlandt Avenue in East York, 17403. I thought it was an $11,000 renovation. We spent $24. Because I walked through with a guy, with an agent who was working with. He's like 11. Yeah, it's 11,000. I went back to Creighton and said, "Oh, why? We're gonna make a bunch of money." He was talking about labor.
Ouch.
Yeah, he's like 11. I was like, "All right, that's the number. It's 11." My guy said so. He was the contractor for the real estate agent that spoke Spanish and communicated with the contractor that we were hiring. So when he gave me the price, it was just labor.
Oh my.
And so that kind of leads into another question that I had written down here. So when you go into a property or you go into a situation, whether someone calls you or I know you deal with like short sales and like that kind of stuff too. You get the list that you get. How do you know if you're going to flip this house or you're going to purchase this house or you're going to go after this house? Is there like, is it just strictly math? What about the houses that you go to that you can't gain access to? Because some of them you're not allowed to go outside, correct?
Yeah, so it changes. So we buy about 30 a month direct from sellers. So these are people that see our billboards like there or television ads. We do a lot of stuff with social media that generates some interest. We get referrals from different people, and then we meet with those folks when they give an offer. If it works, we buy it. If we don't, then they list it with an agent or sell it at an auction or whatever. But each one of those situations is pretty unique. Like every house has a highest of use that we call it. Specifically for our investment clients that we sell to, we try and focus on what we call a buy box. It's a very particular style home. It's a very particular size. We know what it's going to rent for. We try and stay away from. I have seen this. I mean, when we were at the peak of our flipping, we were doing what we call retail renovations. I mean, we were doing, additions and ripping out walls and, opening up floor. And, now what we do is it's far less sexy. It's pretty boring. We try and take the cookie cutter house because we know what it rents for. We know what it sells for. Our average renovation is probably less than $30,000, and it was over $50,000 24 months ago. So we specifically focus on homes that sell for under $150,000 that rent for under $1,500 because that's what most people want. If you think about the average mortgage payment or rent payment, if someone like in York County, the average wage I think is around $50,000, their mortgage payment will be right around $1,200 to $1,500 a month, which makes a good investment property. So the general thumb for an investor that wants to buy a property and rent it is you want the rent to be around 1% of the purchase price. So if that house rents for $1,500, you should be buying it for around $150 or less. But we get houses, to your point, where people call us and they want to sell a house that's a $300,000 house. So we turn people away. We'll often, work a deal that makes sense financially, and then we may wholesale that property to an investor that specializes or focuses on doing fix and flips. So that's why, probably 90% of our business is selling to investors. Because if it doesn't fit the model of what we want to renovate, then we wholesale it to one of our investor partners that we work with that are looking for those deals to fix and flip.
Interesting.
Yeah, very. What's your favorite part of real estate?
People.
The people?
Like the houses are cool. Like I get a kick out of it now. We've done, this year we went over our 3,000th home. And it's kind of funny because I'll drive around right now and my son will be with me and say, hey, Dad, didn't you do that house? Didn't you do that? And we drive around and we see all these houses, right? Because we've been doing the same number plate for like 12, 13 years, right? So you can tell it's that brushed nickel black number plate from Home Depot.
Yeah.
It's $38.16. But I would say the favorite part is the people, because the houses at some point all start to run together. And I like it. I mean, there's nothing more gratifying to me than walking through a nasty mess of a house that's just, virtually destroyed, and then going back 3 months later and seeing it, completely remodeled. Like, that's really cool. But the cool part for me is like talking to the guys that are working at the house, meeting the people when they move in. Sometimes when we buy homes from people that are maybe settling in a state or, dissolving a house that's been in the family for multiple years, we'll bring them back after the house is renovated. And the response that you get from those people is crazy. The people that move into a house, and maybe it's their first home that they bought together. Did I sell you your first house?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. 2409.
And dude,
Mike Cush.
a rancher with a finished basement.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And I remember, like, after you bought that, how proud you were of your finished basement, and you had like a couple of parties or get-togethers down there. It was like a little bar, right? Like this, it was 31 something in Dover, wasn't it? Jody Drive or something. Where was it?
Berkshire.
4160.
2409 Shire.
Yeah. That was close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remember that stuff. I mean, I remember you posting pictures on Facebook in your basement, right? I don't remember, the renovation or the price or any of that stuff. But that's the cool part about it. There's people. I mean, these homes don't mean anything other than the people that live in them, that rent them, that work on them, that buy them. And then, if you think about it, like a home purchase is, it's typically our biggest expense. So to be part of that substantial of a point in life is really cool.
Yeah. I know, that particular situation, man, you helped us out for sure. I reached out to you and I was in a time crunch. My lease was going out on my apartment. Yeah. I wanted to find a house and, you guys made it happen. And you even did some things that were above and beyond, just out of the kindness of your heart, basically.
Yeah.
The deal. And we ended up living there for just under 3 years and bought our next house. And, we walked away with a couple dollars in our pocket and was able to help with our closing costs and stuff on our new house. So like, that's a good deal with me. I mean,
it's not often you can stay in a house for 3 years and sell it and make a little bit of money. Without putting a ton of work into stuff. But I remember at the time, because I think we were gonna, it was gonna be like one price, and you were like, no, I can do it myself, like maybe 5 or 6 things. But we were like, hey, the other stuff I can do myself. I'd rather get a discount and buy it at a discount. It worked out well for you. You played that correctly. Yeah.
So yeah, that right there, that kind of feeds into what you were saying on, every transaction has its own story, has different. It's different.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's good stuff. I remember, Chris, you telling me that you bought your first house from Eric.
Yep.
When I hired him. He asked who we all did work for, and of course, one of the first people I said, we do work for Eric Brewer. And he was like, I know that dude. He sold me my first house. Yeah. Small world.
Absolutely.
It is, man.
Yeah.
So what's the everyone's got horror stories that's in the flipping business, man. What's the worst property you ever walked into?
Ooh. So walked in, found a dead body in one.
Oh my goodness.
Auctioneer called me, and the guy decided he wanted to sell it, and he was, I don't know, probably he's in his late 60s, maybe early 70s, and he's like, yeah, go over, just, knock on the guy there. But guy had a heart attack in the bathroom and fell face down and been there for 2 weeks.
Oh no.
Oh geez.
The smell inside was pretty rough.
I can't even imagine.
It was scary. I mean, that was just a messy situation in every, figure of speech.
Yeah.
I've been in homes that were, flea infested. There's a house that we bought that had multiple dead animals in the basement. I've seen mold that was like stalactites and stalagmites from the cabins that we used to go on field trips. I've seen it all, man. And I say that, but now I'll walk through and I'll see something and I'll go, well, that's all in all. I mean, literally, I'm sure, that story about the dead animals in the basement, that's like a 6-month-old story. That's not that old.
Mm-hmm.
And up till that point, I hadn't seen that before. It's crazy, man. I mean, you see some crazy stuff. We were in a house today that had been vacant for a while as a foreclosure, and as we were walking in the back door, a handful of like 4 or 5 squatters were walking out front. They got arrested like a block down the street by the cop. I mean, they didn't leave because of us. They were just, I don't think they were. I mean, I didn't scare them off. But I've been in houses where I didn't feel like I was alone.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a little creepy, man.
Yeah, I believe it, man. I believe it. So is there any such thing as a bad flip? Like,
Oh yeah.
Can you make something out of anything, or is there stuff that you're just like, I'm good on that?
Probably one of the lessons I've learned is, I was talking about staying in our box, and I remember I bought a house on Elmwood Boulevard back in like 2007, right before the market crash. It was 2007. I bought it for $125. I thought I'd spend $100 and sell it for $400. I bought it for $125. That part worked out. $50, and it's sold for $3. To do that math.
Not good.
And I ended up owning it for about 3 years. The lesson there was we took on a project that we'd never done before. That was 3 times the size of the renovation we had ever done. We had typically sold homes that were around 100 to 150. With that, we got a little too big for our britches. We bit off more than we can chew. One of the biggest recommendations I have for people now, even if you're an active investor, is there are going to be opportunities to pop up. You might see a $500,000 house that's available now that looks like a great flip. If you've never done one before, I would encourage you to be extremely cautious. To keep it simple, I would stick in your lane. Stick to the $100,000 homes. And I told you it's not sexy. I mean, the homes and the rentals that we do might be the most boring thing ever. But when you do 300 of them a year, and it's a consistent, repeatable process, and you have people that benefit from these investments that we're selling, that part is super sexy to me. I always encourage people to have a very strategic approach to whether it's a flip or a rental or whatever. Honestly, the biggest area you can make mistakes is in the construction aspect of it. Ty and maybe 4 other contractors or, out of the 40 or so that we work with are the people that, we haven't broken up over the last 50 years been in business. I've had some crappy relationships with contractors where I got, jacked for $10,000, $15,000 on a job. Or the quality of the work was not up to par, and I got slammed on a home inspection 3 months later, and they stopped answering phones. You can definitely get in over your head with construction. It's the most unpredictable part of the investment, right?
Right.
It's going to sell for is pretty easy, right? You can pull comps, you can work with a real estate agent to really dial that in. You know what you're paying for it. Like that's not a moving number. You agree on a price, and the price is in it. You can have a $60,000 budget that turns into 80 real quick. So I would encourage people, particularly as you get started, stay on smaller construction projects, and really vet contractors. Make sure you're working with a reputable, experienced contractor that's not going to put you in a bad situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're mentioning about the real estate investment part. I want you to briefly explain what Turnkey is, because I know that you guys have been just in the last year and a half, something like that. You guys have been really pumping these Turnkey investments. Like, summarize. I know you can probably talk about that for an hour, but summarize, what is a Turnkey investment?
So, in its simplest form, we buy a property and renovate it. Now we have these published, advertised standards of what our turnkey properties are. So, things like roof, windows, electrical, plumbing, and HVAC either have to have 10 years of useful life or we replace it. We do all the normal cosmetic improvements inside of a house to sort of maximize its value and also maximize the amount of rent that you would get. The materials that we use in that renovation too have a really solid focus on the durability of that product. Like in most of our houses, we don't put carpet anymore. We use either a luxury vinyl planking or we refinish hardwood floors. And then what happens is once the property's made, we sell it to an investor. Those investors will get typically about a 12.5 to 15% return on that investment. So whatever their debt coverage is, their down payment, over the course of a year, they're going to make between a 15% return on their cash investment. And then we manage for them as well. So it's about as close as you could possibly be to passive real estate investing. I mean, they literally don't, have to get and find the property. They don't have to renovate it. They don't have to manage it. They really just have to have good enough credit and enough assets to fund the purchase. And then they collect what we call mailbox money. They get checks every month. And, for a lot of people, it's definitely can be not maybe as lucrative, but much safer than this, particularly if you look at what just happened recently. There's a lot of tax benefits to investing in real estate where you're not paying capital gains. There's lots of tax savings when you own properties. You have the opportunity to depreciate it, and that's the basic turnkey. We buy, renovate, and sell income-producing properties that are essentially close to maintenance free. And then they collect the rent. They have a mortgage payment of $600 a month. They get $1,100 a month in rent. When we send out performers, when you look at it, we account for vacancies, property management, maintenance. So their net return is typically at a minimum of 12.5%. Most of ours are over 15%.
That's good. That's a good investment. You're not getting out of the bank or put money in a savings account or a bond or a lot of stocks, man. You can get lucky and maybe catch on something that booms quick on some penny stocks or something, but a 10 to 15% in return on your investment is big. That's big in the investment field and industry.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is too, so like you think about this property is, over the course of 10 or 15 years, it's going to go up in value, right? So you have the appreciation aspect of it, plus it produces cash. Like stocks don't produce cash, it produce equity. Well, the problem with equity is it's a moving target. It's only worth what it's worth when you sell it. The turnkey real estate investment, it pumps out cash. It's like a job. It pays you, but you don't have to work, which is cool, right?
Absolutely.
So that's the biggest thing. And it's not for everybody, right? Some people have a different risk threshold, and they love the thrill of being in the stock market and buying low and selling high. Our typical client wants a safer, longer-term investment that they can slowly build and expand over the course of years. And if you think about it like a property, they're normally cash flowing around $300 a month. So you acquire 15 of those, you're netting $4,500 a month. That's, $50,000 a year, which is like making $70,000 a year. So in most cases, that becomes somebody's retirement. And they may be able to retire at the age of 50 instead of 65 because they have that portfolio built. If you think about it, if you buy 2 a year for 10 years, that's $20. That number I just gave you now turns into $80,000-$90,000 a year. That's a significant amount of money for somebody to be able to retire off of.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it isn't that long. I mean, right now it sounds like a long time, but you think back 10 years. How long ago did I sell you that house? 7 years ago?
Yeah, about 7 years ago.
Yeah. Boom, just like that. 7 years flew by, right? If they started flying 2 rentals a year 7 years ago, you'd have 14 of them right now, brother.
I know it, man. I know it. You just led me perfectly into the next question here, bro. What's the, like, if someone wants to get into investing in real estate or into that, what's the requirements? Like, do you recommend someone has $100,000 in an account ready to just buy a property and put the money into renovations and that kind of stuff, or
That's an interesting question. There's 1,000 different ways to make money in real estate. The simple answer is you either have to have time or money. Like if you have time and no money, you have no chance. Like you gotta. It's like no shoes, no shirt, no service, right? No time, no money, no chance. If you have no money but you have time, find somebody that has money. Educate yourself about, how to buy a house, how to evaluate a renovation, how to buy a house, partner with an agent, partner with a contractor. Like, let's say, for example, I know how to sell, and I don't have money, and I don't know anything about construction. Well, I would go find someone that has money, right? And then find another person that knows about construction, and the three of us may be able to work together. Or maybe I can find one person like Ty that has money and knows about construction, right? So I think in the beginning, you got to hedge your bets a little bit. I encourage a lot of people to have a partnership and find somebody that brings to the table whatever it is that you don't have. Tell them when you're getting started, do you have everything that it takes? You may have a lot of time and experience and not have access to money. And there's plenty of people out there that have no experience, no knowledge, and have plenty of money. For them, they want to make more. There's plenty of people. I mean, we've had people that approach us after we run a local real estate meetup once a month where we give out information. We've had people come invest over $2 million with the past 3 years. They didn't want to buy anything. They didn't want to flip anything. They just wanted to give us money and say, hey, give me a 6% return. So they effectively give us lines of credit, and they don't care about deals and all that stuff, right? They get a check for a certain percentage based on what they invested every month. So I would say two things is you got to figure out what type of real estate you want to be in, because there's 1,000 different ways to make money, but they all require significantly different skill set. If you're really good at sales, you're probably not going to be good at construction. So go find yourself someone that can do the construction side. You go out, find deals, help, bring in the inventory, and then sell it when the contractor's done. And you may give up some profit in that partnership. You also limit your risk. And that's, if I go back and if I would have partnered with somebody in construction, I wouldn't have bought that house on Cortland and thought it was $11,000 rehab, and I wouldn't have bought that house on Elmwood that I lost $150,000 on. So you think about that. I mean, that's a $200,000 lesson.
Yeah.
So I could have paid somebody a portion of my profits for a couple of years and still not broke even.
Right.
Yeah.
So that would be my suggestion. It's not easy. Could you get lucky, make a deal, make some money? Absolutely. But ultimately, it's no different than anything else. You got to practice. You need to educate yourself. You should surround yourself with a mentor or someone that's done business before. and, kind of sit sidelines, play your part and learn and slowly take more and more risk and more responsibility. But it is, you can lose your butt quickly. I mean, it's a high stakes game. I mean, even in our area, I mean, the average purchase price in our county is $170. That's a lot of money.
Absolutely.
It's I would encourage people to, and there's tons of information out there between YouTube and books and stuff like and us talking today. There is a surplus of information out there. Just go find it and take it all in.
Yeah.
You got like over 600 lot videos yourself. You get on them on your way to work every morning, and sometimes it has to do with work. Sometimes it just has to do with random thought while you're watching a documentary the night before. I know you're big into sports like I am, so you throw those Kobe nuggets out, and you've been doing one about the Last Dance every week and stuff. So
yeah, but that's my point. Think about that for a second. So Phil Jackson, right, arguably one of the best coaches, best leaders of all time. I did a video the other day. We were talking about business as personal, right? Sports, call it whatever you want, it's a business, right? They make money, they got salaries, they run business. Phil Jackson let Dennis Rodman go to Las Vegas for 48 hours with Carmen Electra in the middle of a season. He had a personal connection with that guy that he knew that the extraordinary person on the floor and the effort that he gave and the intensity he played with and the energy he brought was the same person. He brought that energy to Vegas, right?
Right.
He had a personal relationship with him, and he business-wise, they brought Michael Jordan up. What did he say, Bigger? When he asked him if they should let Rodman go, he said, "Hell no."
he said he won't come back.
He said, "Coach, you won't come back," because he made a business decision. Phil Jackson let him go, and if you watch the rest of the story, he came back and he was the best. He was the best he had ever been. He wasn't at his youngest. There was no reason for him to play at that high a level, except for and you remember he said at that point in his life, Phil Jackson, those guys were better. So who would have ever thought that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's personal.
Yeah, absolutely.
That leads to what you said about you have to have that personal connection with all your employees. You can't congratulate and appreciate Michael the same way you appreciated Dennis and congratulated him.
Yeah.
Everyone receives information differently. Everyone has a different perspective on life. The three of us can look at one thing and have different thoughts in our head immediately. Our perception's all different. And, the quicker that you learn that about people and individuals, the better off you are in life and dealing with relationships and having relationships, And not everyone understands it the way that you do, or thinks about it or interprets the way that you do.
Here's the thing I learned, right? Like, all I'm really talking about, when we're talking about being personal, like, you don't have to be best buddies and friends with everybody. You don't have to take everybody and their spouse and their kids out to dinner. But what you do need to do is express an interest in your personal life. And, at a minimum, even if you don't find any of it interesting, right, which is okay, they will appreciate the fact that you took time to show interest. You don't have to be, because here's what happens. Like, inevitably, the majority of people I hired in the last 24 months are not like me. And that was done specifically because if we had a bunch of Erics running around, we would buy and sell a ton of stuff. The office would be a mess. We'd be so unorganized. Everybody would be 12-minute late for their appointment. I'd sell a ton of stuff, but it would be chaos.
Yeah.
Right? The people that I've surrounded myself with have different tendencies. They have different behavioral profiles. They have different motivating factors. Some of them want to make a ton of money. Some of them work life. So the flexibility of real estate gives them the ability to work, but do it from home. And, dude, if you'd have told me 5 years ago to have 4 people that, I'd have told you were crazy.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way. We have 4 full-time employees that work from home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's again, if you don't now, to me, it seems like, I'm not, but back then, no, and they're going to sleep all day. I didn't believe that people would be at home and work.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Now, you know what
I'm
happens?
with you. I'm with you.
People work. Now here's what happens. Like when you get to the proverbial punching of the clock, you start work when you stop 5 minutes before quitting time to unbuckle your boots or wind down, shut down your laptop, whatever it is that you do. The people that work at home don't have that like start and stop. They actually end up working more than the people that are in the office.
Yes.
Start their day a little bit early, like if they're up making breakfast and getting ready and a phone call comes in, they answer it. They don't know if it's 7:45 or 8:02. And then a lot of times they end up working beyond the normal working hours because A, they appreciate the fact that they have that flexibility. And B, there's not the official start and stop time. They don't just shut it down. So it's not for everybody, right? Like there's certain people that need to be in the office. They got to be on the job site. But it's been one of the better things for us. And then the big thing is we've been able to hire not from our own area. I have 3 people that live thousands of miles away. So when you start interviewing or hiring people, your talent pool now is not just within a 30-mile radius. We have 2 people that work in the Philippines, and I have another person that works in Massachusetts. And they all do phone sales for us. And those people work probably more hours, if not as much as anybody in the company.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
Yeah. That's awesome. I can personally attest to that. I know I've been stuck at home with my son while daycare's closed because my wife's in the nursing or the healthcare industry, I should say. So I can personally attest to that. I get more peace and quiet after 8:30 when he's sleeping that I can. There's some nights that I'm on my computer at 11:30 at night punching tickets for the guys tomorrow. I mean, it's
Yeah.
and I don't think in my head like, oh, I better write these hours down here. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't.
You just work till it gets done.
While I work, and like you said, you answer the phone at times that you wouldn't sometimes answer the phone, and I know you guys deal with that all the time. I mean, you guys run businesses. You never technically are off work. So you guys have to deal with that all the time. But so Eric, where do you think the real estate market is right now, man? Is this a buyer's market or a seller's market?
It's still a seller's market. I can tell you, like, we're heavy advertising right now. We generate a ton of leads. I think there was a lot of speculation from real estate investors that when this happened, there was going to be this big panic sale. I can tell it was 2 months through this. We've talked to over 1,000 homeowners. People aren't panicking. They're waiting for this to kind of run its cycle. And then the expectation is that values will be about the same that they were before all of this happened. I'm no financial expert, but what I can tell you, I deal a lot and I make a lot of decisions off of feelings. Like I get hunches, our intuition is something you just can't really put a price on. But if you just look at how people are responding, like if the 4 of us knew that we could go to like Rob Burritos right now, sit down and have a burrito and some chips and salsa, I mean, there'd be a line out the door right there. I think there's such a pent-up demand for people. They want to go to Olive Garden and wait in line for an hour and 45 minutes for cold lasagna. They want Ritas and Dairy Queen, Smoky Bones and Chili's and I think car dealerships. I got a couple of friends. I'm trying to buy 2 work trucks right now. I was talking to a guy that works up with Bob Ruth Ford, a buddy of mine, Travis Motley. He's like, dude, we're selling 20 cars a day. People are going like, there's this pent up demand from the last 2 months, and then there's a sense of like, what if I never get that chance to buy the car I wanted again? Or what if I end up, in another one of these pandemic situations and I'm stuck in my house for 8 weeks? I want to be stuck in the house with a finished basement and a nicer kitchen. So, I think you're going to see some portions of the real estate business that are impacted negative. Maybe that's commercial. We were just talking about working from home teleworking could be a big thing. Maybe commercial space and demand for people to have actual office space goes away.
Yeah.
Fortunately for us, we're not in that business. Pay attention to it because it's real estate. But, for us, I mean, people need homes. I mean, there's no way around it. Whether they rent them or buy them, we're in that business and have the ability to sort of pivot quick enough that if these homes that we're renting, people stopped renting and started buying more, we would just sell them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think what you're going to see is when things open, and they saw this, like if you're watching like Georgia, a couple places in Texas, like when they opened stuff back up, people stormed, man. Like they're taking preventative measures. They're doing what they can. But like restaurants and these places that opened up, they're in.
Yeah.
People want to go back to living, man.
Absolutely.
I think it's going to be a quick and very drastic bump economy as things open up. So just brace yourself for it. But then it's going to flatten out. Like you're going to, it's like the first day of school, kids can't wait to get there, and by like the third day, they're called sick, right? The economy, I think, is going to be a little bit like that. People are going to go back, and they can't wait to get outside and spend money and vacation and go on cruises and buy homes and hoodies and skateboards and, but like 2 months in, things will flatten a little bit. But I think we're going to end up back in a really, really good place. I think real estate and construction was, Ty, we've been doing this for a while, and it didn't get any better than it was 9 weeks ago, right?
No, we were on the verge of having our greatest year ever. I mean, we would have probably did more this year than we did probably in 3 years. Like that's the track. And we had ramped up. I mean, the new construction aspect of things. I mean, we picked up some new builders. The builders that we had bought more land. We were on track to have a great year, our best year ever. It would have been 3 years combined. Is the way it was going. I mean, it was just going to be phenomenal. And I really, truly believe you're right. I think we may not feel it in the third quarter, but I think we're going to start feeling the fourth quarter. We're going to start feeling it in the fourth quarter, and next year, I think it's going to be a really good year. And I hate to say that already because we're barely even through the second quarter yet, but I'm feeling it already.
You guys are busy, right?
Yeah, the business is good. It's good. It's going to be a dip in new construction. I think we're doing right now, the new construction work that we're doing right now was home sales that happened pre-pandemic. But I think there's going to be enough to carry us through because there was homes that were sold that the foundations weren't even in yet. There's homes that were sold that the foundations are in that weren't framed yet, that we still get to put the roof on, we still get to do the siding, we still get to put the gutters on. And I'm speaking of new construction because that's how I gauge the economy, at least in my world. Okay, so I see that. So I see, there's probably a good 3 months of residual work back there. So by the time, since there's no home sales, and I can't even say that there hasn't been home sales because I'm hearing and seeing that there was a few home sales throughout the course of this, especially with existing homes. I'm speaking more so for new construction.
Yeah.
But I think there's enough work there that's going to carry us through the new construction thing. And the other thing is, too, with the existing home sales, I've seen that there's been existing home sales, but the remodeling aspect of things, those who were thinking about buying a new home, probably, if they decide not to buy a new home, they're going to stay in their home. It's like, okay, let's just get the roof done. Let's add the addition out back. Let's get the windows put in. So, fortunately, we're in all of those areas of construction, and there's a reason why we're in that position that we're in is because I went through the recession. Where predominantly we did all new construction, not that we didn't do, and you guys were just getting ramped up. So there was no investor work. So I call it, there's three categories. There's new construction, there's remodeling, and there's investors. And then there's commercial. Okay, we don't get into the heavy commercial stuff, but you guys created another faucet of construction, whether if you know it or not. You know what I mean? You can chalk it up as remodeling, but it's not the same as remodeling. It's the investor world. Okay, so there's investors we work for, there's remodeling we do new construction, and we do like commercial. So we have our footprint in all areas of the construction I feel that we need to be in to carry us through whatever climate there may be. If we get a big dip, there's always going to be insurance work, there's always going to be storm work, there's always going to be remodeling. When the economy's good, there's going to be both. There's going to be remodeling and new construction, but I really feel like guys like you who, you know, if the economy tanks, that's when you guys thrive. I feel, because I've watched you do it through the recession.
It's really no, you know, business is business. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you have three facets of business. You have investor, remodeling, residential, and it's the same for me. Like, right, I call it's business to business. I'm selling to other investors. Right. When the market changes, if those investors go away, I now pivot back to selling direct to homeowners.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like I said, if I couldn't rent them because that stops, or, you know, for whatever reason, interest rates for investor loans go up. So now making $400 a month cash flow, my investor's making $200. He's like, nah, you know, I'm going to go invest back in the stock market, or I'm going to buy a Subway, or I'm going to whatever, right? Mm-hmm. If that investment strategy becomes less appealing, I have to be able to pivot into something else. And it would still be real estate. I would still buy, renovate, and resell. I would probably buy a different house, I would renovate it differently, and I would sell it to a different consumer.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. You know, you want to diverse, but at the same time be focused. Yeah. Right? Like you said, we don't get into heavy commercial. You didn't do it by accident. That's a decision that you made for one reason or another.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's paid off for you. But, you know, and I think what you're talking about, you just chalk that up to momentum. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had the best momentum, and I think that's what, yes, you know, when you summarize it, what's carried us through the last 2 months was all the momentum, yes, going on back in, you know, December, January, and February. Hopefully, you know, this stay-at-home order and stuff gets lifted in enough time to where that momentum doesn't run out, and you have to kind of start all over again. Yeah. I don't think we're there yet. We're getting close. I mean, you can see people just, with each day that passes, they're getting a little more antsy. I mean, people want to get back to work. They want to get back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
I think this has been a great conversation, Eric. You've always have been an inspiration to me. I've watched you over the years, and you've helped me grow substantially over the years, and have been definitely my mentor. And I try to lead by example, and I watch you do that on a daily basis. You know, through your videos and stuff, and you're out there, and you're throwing, you know, nuggets just out there everywhere, and I say to myself, I wish I had more time, but I really still don't feel comfortable doing this. I have conversations better when it's just one-on-one, or maybe a small group of people in a room, but I know it's uncomfortable for me, but I'm not necessarily afraid to step out of my comfort zone. So I muscle through these. I feel so relieved when this crap is over with, you know, and I'm thinking tomorrow's Friday, the weight's been lifted off my chest, and I attack the day again. But you've been a big inspiration to me, man. Chris, you know, he's definitely helped the growth. You know, Brandon, I forgot to mention Brandon last week when we had a discussion. Brandon's been another rock star. That was Chris's buddy. Same generation of kids. And I'm sorry, I keep calling you guys kids, but
when you get to be our age, dude, everybody's a kid.
Yes, even if
well, I'm not calling kid outside, and I'm not offended by that, bro. You can call me a kid.
There's worse things to be called, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But these guys are rock stars, man, and just it's been fun. It's been interesting. You know Brandon. Brandon's at work with me every day, and Chris has been at home. And it was nice to have Brandon come back to the office because we're actually going to implement a new program to help us manage our investor world, see our property group. And Brandon's helped me set that up with a company called Dataforma. And it's basically as soon as the job's approved, it goes in, windows were ordered on such and such a date, windows will be in on such and such a date. Roof can be done right away. Like Brandon's going to be able to schedule everything out strategically, so we can duplicate that system to someone else. So Brandon doesn't have to do it, or it's pretty much idiot proof. So we can pass it on to somebody, so they know they can pick it right up right away. So we're hoping to launch this by Monday morning. At least one of our crews is going to be on Dataforma. So when the RTIs come in, they'll all be funneled to, or the home check reports will all be funneled into Brandon, and he can put it on their Dataforma, which every truck will have a tablet. So when they come into the shop, they don't even have to come into the office. They'll know exactly where they got to go. Yep. And then you can.
It's pretty sick.
Yeah, man, it is going to be sick. They can. So their work order will be in there. There'll be a place for them to put pictures. So with the tablet, they're out there snapping pictures of the before and after. It's going to be sick, man. It does so much more. I'm so illiterate when it comes to those kinds of things, but that's what makes me excited. When these guys.
Here's my tablet.
Me too, bro. Yeah, me too.
Listen, that's my tablet.
Me too, man.
We've come a long way, man.
Yeah.
But that's part of it. Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean it's that stuff. When you say RTI, talking about, for those that are watching, apply to inspections. We often have, when we do home inspections and sell these properties to investors, we get a full home inspection and come back with certain things that might need to be addressed, like a gutter, some type of flashing, soffit, different things that might come up on a home inspection, and they're in most cases time sensitive, right? The old process would be someone would have to send it to you, and the guy that would bid the job or line up the work would have to go back to the office, get the work order, out, bid it, bring it back to the office. I mean, you were adding at least a day's worth of man to a process,
right?
Already on a short timeline, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so I mean that's one of the where you're going to get more. You're working the same amount of hours, but you're getting more out of those hours. That's all. Man. Hey, don't you you do a lot of the roofing for Jeff Inch, right?
Yeah, Jeff Inch. Yeah, we're
going to build
a project down in Wrightsville for him.
We're going to build 50 new duplexes this year.
Nice.
So we start our first one out in Stoverstown. Probably we're waiting on the final permits right now. But so what we're going to do is build duplexes all on one deed. Investors, they love to buy new construction, but it's hard when you're building single families to make it work. So I did some networking and did my homework, and Jeff and I spent the last 60 days coming up with pricing and all that good stuff. And I have 7 lots under contract right now.
Nice, man. Congratulations.
We're like, yeah, we'll do 1 or 2, see how it goes. And I went out and bought seven pieces of land. But like the piece of land for us is like today I bought for $700. I bought 2/3 of an acre lot on 900 block of East Princess.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're not going to build like a. But I mean, you think about like the perfect place to put a 1,400 square foot duplex.
Right.
It'll rent for $1,300 a month. They're 3-bed, 2.5 bath townhouses, no garage, but new construction. They'll sell for about $135 to $140 a side. We build them at, I don't know, what's like $75 a square foot all in.
Right.
So I'm pretty excited. I mean, you think about it, I was like, I told a guy, I said, dude, they don't have land like that. Man, you can't, because this is the guy that I learned it from, this model was in Houston. That's a big city.
Yeah.
Dude, there's so much quarter of an acre, eighth of an acre lots all throughout the pros in York County and Adams County. So I say 50. I wouldn't be surprised if we do 100. So
right.
make sure you keep your eyes peeled for those projects coming down the line.
I believe that. You'll definitely be on it, man.
I'm pretty excited about it.
Good for you, man. That just made me excited too. That's good stuff, man.
My exit question for you, Eric. I was going to say, what's next? What's next for EV? You know, what's your next adventure? There it is. You know, that's.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. We'll announce probably early next week. A guy that has a ton of experience in real estate. He's run his own company for about 7 years. He's coming on board. He's joining us. He'll be starting next week. Announcement early next week. So the big thing is for me is he's going to take a lot of responsibility off my plate. I still have certain areas where decisions pass through me or deals pass through me, and it's just from a shortage of manpower. Like we have great people here; they're all super talented and skilled, but the overflow a lot of times ends up in my lap. And so I made the commitment to bring this guy on board. And so what's next for me personally?
Yeah, what's next, man?
I really like teaching.
Yeah.
And coaching. So I'm working with a guy now that's like a pretty prominent real estate sales coach. And we've talked about partnering up and working together on teaching people how to teach. So instead of just teaching a one-to-one or teaching people real estate, we actually want to develop a program where we teach people how to be teachers, specific to real estate or sales. Like it's a sales specific thing. And it all really just started with like those videos. And I'll tell you, like Ty, the cool thing about it and why I think you should start doing it makes you uncomfortable. You know why I don't talk about real estate every day?
Why?
There ain't that much shit to talk about.
Right, you run out of things to talk about.
You can start talking about all the different roofing topics, and 30 days in, you're like, dude, I've talked about literally everything I can talk about.
Yeah.
So what we did was go learn new shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I've read more books in the last 12 months than I've read in the last 12 years. So like when you see call in the morning, right? Like Chris was saying, it's either from something I watched the night before or actually listen to books for about 20 minutes every morning before I leave. So most of the stuff that I talk about in the car is something I just learned 20 minutes ago.
Right.
But what it does is like each day, it's funny, I went on, I don't know where I was on a trip or something, I think for work, and like 2 days went by, and I got like 15 text messages. People thought I like died, was in a bad accident because I didn't do videos for 2 days.
Right.
And I was like, well, damn, I didn't know you liked them that much. You never texted me when I was doing them.
Uh-huh.
And, but what I realized is like people get value out of it. I was like, dude, that's really cool. And not one or two, I mean, probably 20 or so times people have texted me like, man, the video you did today it was the perfect timing for me. I'm going through something or blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And so the thing I would tell you is it pushes me every day because I know I can't get on that 11-minute drive to work and talk about BS. I can't get on there and regurgitate something I talked about 6 months ago.
Yes.
It's Facebook. It lasts forever, right? Like people,
Yes.
It's out there for the world. Like Chris was saying, they had 600. I didn't know I had 600 videos. So hopefully, I've never done the same thing twice. But if you think about that, what I loved about it is I knew people were waiting on me to do it.
Uh-huh.
And I knew I had to bring something new or something valuable to the table. And I didn't have enough up here to do it, so I have to constantly take in more stuff. And that was the only way I could ever get myself to read. I'd sit down and read, man, screw it, I'm going to listen to music, or I'm going to go watch TV. But now, knowing that I've created that like cadence of being on Facebook every day, that I don't want to get on there and just talk about something and have to be, stupid. Like I don't want to put my face out there. It's already hard enough to put your face out there.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that drove me to learn something new every day so that I can teach it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome.
Good stuff, man. That's good stuff.
Yeah. I appreciate you coming on here, Eric. I know
Yeah, man.
We've been talking about, me and Ty have been talking about trying to do something, get you on here, and then, you invited us onto your show, and it only made sense to bring you on here.
I appreciate it, man. I love it.
We could talk.
Yeah.
about this stuff for hours and hours and hours, man.
Mhm.
Shane, where's Shane?
What's up? How's everybody, man?
Dude, that's gotta be like a world record for Shane to train for time lapse without saying, "What's up, dude? I need to see your face."
Boom. So discipline, man. I tell people it's all about discipline. You know, hey, listen, when I'm on here, I'm learning. I don't need to talk. I can't.
You gotta close this out. Shane, you gotta close this out, brother.
Boom. So look, I just want to thank all of you, right? Like, listen, I get goosebumps, and here's the bracelet.
Oh.
So, but I get goosebumps. Like, I have no education, right? So I know nothing. So to be here today was, God has blessed me with all of you. And it's not easy. Let anyone know, man. And you put out some really good nuggets. People should know that our circle is small. In every town, it's small. Understand that it's small. And be careful who you do business with and who you don't do business with. Because we depend on each other. So for my family, we just really want to sincerely thank all of your companies, you know, and your families. You know, Eric, you said it best, it's relationships. Look, we don't do this for the money, man. We crack our backs day and night, right? The only reason I work like this, people think I'm rich. I'm a poor man that remembers what it's like to be a poor man, right? So I work that way. And I make mistakes all the time. And I've been caught being content and thinking I knew something, you know, and God had a funny way of saying, bro, your life's going to end and you better make an impression before you leave. So I just appreciate you all giving me just great inspiration to keep going. And I just thank you for your business, all of you. It means a lot to my family. And so we appreciate and love you all. And everyone that's out there, man, let's just keep moving forward, man. You got a lot of inspiration tonight. So just thank all of you. Thank your wives. You know, and real quick, I got to do this. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jenna. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Oh, like Jenna. Smoky
You're
bones.
talking about pent-up demand. Shane, for the last hour and 40 minutes, got some pent-up energy right now. Look, he's going to go Facebook Live as soon as we end. He'll be out in the middle of George Street.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Get him, Shane. Shane, tell him about the time. You remember the time me and you rode that little bike out in front of all live media and you chased me around the parking lot?
we got like 5,000 views on that. I don't even know where it is now.
11,000, bro.
Crazy, right down in the parking lot.
Every once in a while, someone will comment on it and it pops up again in my timeline. We were going to go door to door. Remember that, Shane?
Yes.
And I was going to knock on people's doors and make offers.
That'd been still cool to do.
And then somehow our driver backed out or something.
Yeah, because we were down.
Or a
Yeah.
man. So I was like, I just started running for no reason.
Then we were gonna
And
bicycle.
someone was recording it and Shane was chasing me on a bike. Dude, it was crazy. Well, Shane got me started on all that Facebook Live stuff. It was probably 2 years ago now that I did our first show.
Yeah.
Around this time, I started right around spring of 2018.
You kill it. People don't realize how hard it is. How hard. Like, we all work all day, and this doesn't seem like work. It's a weird whole thing how it works. And once you do it, you got to do it. It's weird. Yeah. It's like a curse, and it's a blessing. But you guys do it good, because most people think it looks way different on the outside. It's a lot of work, and you guys all do a good job at educating, because you said it best, Eric. You have to.
Guys, it's not easy to look this good on camera. Like, at the right time.
You don't want a sexy mofo.
Yeah, it don't happen just,
Right.
by accident. It takes a lot of work.
But one of the things that you guys all do is you guys are authentic. And that's what people are buying. Like, a lot of people try to make perfect videos, and there's a place for them, right? But you all are really good at making authentic videos. So you make it where you're an everyday person that just found like this hyper like focus where you found what you loved, and then you just tell the story to encourage other people, man. So that's what's awesome about it.
Track what you put out. If you put out fake, you get fake back.
And we went with the 137, so you guys conquered another monster live. So
Nice.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, appreciate you too, Eric.
Steve, I'll see you guys all next week. Eric, before we pop out of here, how can anyone get a hold of you, man? If they want you to buy their house, how can they get a hold of you?
Best thing to do is go to Eric, buysyork.com or ericbuysyourhouse.com. Those are the two things that you'll see most often on billboards and television. The best way to get a hold of me, all of those emails come direct to my phone. We have answering services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have live people that respond to those inquiries. And then typically, as early as the next business day, myself or one of our professional home buyers will contact you. We are buying over the phone. The 31 homes that last month, we did all virtual. We did all of that over the phone. It's amazing technology out there where we've had people FaceTime us, send us pictures, Google Street View. We are able to, make a fair offer on your house without ever coming out. And that's the best way to get a hold of me is, that website that you see up there or ericbuysyourhouse.com. Hey, tell me, I saw today you guys were recognized. Weren't you in the newspaper or something?
Yeah, we built gazebos at the York Builder Show in Austin.
The infamous gazebos, yeah.
Yeah.
They had a write-up about you, right?
Yeah, they did. They did a real nice write-up.
That's pretty cool. It's something to be proud of, man. You went all shows. So that's what I love about you guys. You did a whole hour and 44-minute show and didn't even bring it up.
Yeah.
I forgot.
I shared it, by the way. No, but it's so I read the first couple lines of it and then got distracted or something. But it said something about a generous donation from local business. I saw there was a group of like 5 or 6 of you standing out front, the business, but
Distant at that.
Yeah.
what was it?
We were socially distant. There was a method to that spacing there.
Yeah.
I didn't even pick up on it, but now that you noticed it, I was like, look, they're evenly balanced out and they're centered on the thing. It was very well done. It was like what they call a reverse gable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar to reverse gable. That's right.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. We need.
Like one piece of roofing terminology. That's reverse gable, and Ty taught me that last week.
There you go.
So,
Hey,
anyway,
you guys,
thanks guys for having me.
Eric, real quick, you guys are looking to help the food bank. If no one saw how many cars, don't take for granted that people aren't hungry, man. It's across the country. If you didn't go by Kmart, that gives me goosebumps to think there's families in our community that are hungry. And my postman, I interviewed him. He's part of the food bank. The post office supplies the food bank, and May 6th is the lowest in just without COVID. Most people don't know May 6th is the driest that they are. So put COVID into this, and the post office couldn't do their thing where they collect cans every year. So, most people don't even know that, but they're part of the York County Food Bank, a huge thing. So you guys are doing a fundraiser to help that. If someone can put that in later, a link on that. But right, are you guys doing that?
I'll post it in here. There's a link. As of about an hour and a half ago, we were almost at $3,000. Cool. We're on our way to 10. We're going to give away $100 for every house we buy, in addition to whatever we fundraise. So what I hope is we get $10,000 in donations. We're on pace to buy about 45 homes this month. So that'd be another 4,500. We could get to 15,000.
Nice.
Dude, I drove by there yesterday. Shane, what was it, 5 o'clock or something? Maybe
crazy.
And it looked like a sporting event. I mean, they
looked like Black Friday.
Looked packed. Dude, I almost wrecked because I was like trying to record it and look back.
Yeah.
Dude, just because of social media yesterday, that video got shared almost 100 times in less than 24 hours, and we went from $1,000 to $3,000 like that.
Awesome.
So it shows you the power. Anybody that's watching this, share it. Even if you're not able to donate, if you share it and it ends up on your page, and someone that sees it there is able to give $5 and share it, and the power of this social media and what we're doing here today is definitely in the number. I mean, the more eyeballs that see that stuff, the more people that donate, the more people we can help. And it's something crazy. You can feed like a family the way that they buy in bulk and do that stuff for like $3.
Yeah.
You think about raising $10,000, man. How many people that will feed? We talked about it in our meeting today, and I harped on us. We have to do it. Our first goal was $5,000, and I looked at the number and I was like, dude, that's weak. Let's double it. Everybody's like 10,000. And we're at 3,000 after like 4 days.
Yeah.
So we'll get to 10,000.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll share the heck out of it every time I see it, and
I appreciate that, man.
yeah,
Yeah, me too.
we got a good community around us, so
Awesome.
get it done, man. So, but yeah, I
All
appreciate
right,
it.
cool.
We had another long show tonight, guys. We'll see everyone next Wednesday at 7 o'clock, episode 20.
Yeah.
Hey,
So,
Yeah,
have a
I'm
good,
cool,
have a
but
good week.
keep it up, guys. We'll see you.
yep, see ya.